Now, see, I could have swore we had this conversation back when British had that interview with Carlos King, where she implied that maybe allegedly Lorenzo knew about the shenanigans that she was involved in. Y'all recall that? Now, she had gone on about how, there was foreclosures and all this stuff, and then he came out and denied having any knowledge of it. I think he might have even had to, write a letter for court to testify or something like that. I can't even recall, to be honest with you, the details of the denials, okay? But I mean, the river of denial runs deep, okay? Because I have to shout out our friends over at Chronicle Speaks because that is where I first saw this on the gram. Okay. Saw it on the gram and I said, wow, let me go ahead and do some investigation station. So, first, I want to make sure that I shout out our good friends over at Chronicle Speaks. Y'all know how much I love Chronicle Speaks. Okay. So, make sure you guys go on ahead and give them a shout as well. Okay. So here is what I found, right? The St. Louis Post Dispatch, baby. Basketball Wives star ex-fiance is now facing fraud charges too. E2 Brutus. How in the world? I mean, to be honest with you, I need to ask you guys this question. Are you surprised by any of this? Okay. Are you surprised? Let's get into the ponderosa of it all. Okay. So they list him initially in the article as a former professional basketball player whose reality star ex girlfriend was sentenced to the jail for various frauds, has now been indicted on charges of submitting false applications for pandemic relief loans. So they call him out. Lorenzo Gordon, 40, faces 3 charges of wire fraud and a single count of theft of government property after authorities say he lied on the pandemic 19 business relief applications about how long he had operated 2 businesses, how much money they had made, and whether he was the sole owner of a janitorial company. So let's get into this. It says in all, he collected nearly $273,000 according to the charging documentations. Okay. So they talk about how his ex fiance, British Williams, who first appeared on the VH1 reality TV show Basketball Wives in 2014. They had gotten engaged in 2014, but later broke it off over cheating allegations. Of course, they have a child, which we know. British was sentenced to 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to various frauds that netted more than $500,000. All right. So on Wednesday, an indictment was filed that says that Lorenzo applied for a federal pandemic business relief loan on June 19th of 2020. It says he claimed his business, Logo Fitness, had made gross revenues of nearly $96,500 prior to the pandemic, when in fact, Logo Fitness was only established in 2020. So basically, okay, you're applying for a business relief loan on June 19th of 2020. But the claim is that the business had made gross revenues of 96,000 the year prior. How could your business make 96,000 the year prior when the business was only established in 2020, friend? No, friend, no. So it says 3 years later, no, 3 days later, excuse me, 3 days later, he submitted another application for a business called Elite 50 Basketball Training, which he said made more than $234,000 in the past year. Guess what, y'all? That business was created in 2020 as well. So one business made $96,000. The other business made $234,000. That is crazy how these business can make money without even being a business. Ain't that something? I mean, technically, that could be the case, right? Let me give you the technicality of it all. Now, let's say you was running this as a sole proprietor and you was making all that kind of money, but you still would need to file it in a certain type of way because they're gonna know. They're gonna know. Let me tell you, they're gonna find out. They're gonna come and get your money. They're gonna take your monies. If you're making that much money, they're gonna find out about it. Okay. I mean, if you got it under some type of legitimate business that you're doing, how is you getting all this extra money? And then if you putting it under this LLC, I mean, it's so many complications that go along with this. And it's just really surprising to me that somebody would do this, but kind of not surprising given what we know has been going on with British. And the way British make it seem like, I mean, from that interview, she was like, if you ain't got no cases against you, I mean, is you really from St. Louis? That's what she has said. Now, I'm so sorry to the people of St. Louis. I mean, because I feel like she just threw y'all under the bus, but it won't me, it was her. Anyway, Lorenzo also claimed that he had been the only owner of a business called Lorenzo Gordon Janitorial Services since 2017, when there was actually another owner of the company as well. This is what the court docs say. So his name had previously appeared in a different investigation from state regulators into a food distribution program for needy children. Apparently, he ran a commercial kitchen and provided food for a nonprofit that later ran afoul of state regulators and was forced to stop participating in federal food distribution programs. But they say here he was not accused of any wrongdoing. Now, this indictment apparently comes 3 months after British pled guilty to 15 federal charges, including tax fraud, bank fraud, insurance fraud, and pandemic-related fraud. She admitted to sending out fake bills for health insurance payouts, lying to the IRS on applications for federal loans, and opening bank accounts and lines of credit with other people's security numbers. Those would be the CPNs, okay, that she had talked about, that she said she didn't really have an understanding of what there was some cockamamie-ness about not knowing what the CPN is, when in fact one can use the Googler. Okay, I used the Googler and found this out in literally 2.5 seconds or less. Okay, not really understanding what a CPN was before, I do now. Okay, so y'all know she was arrested last week, as we talked about earlier, after failing to report to the federal prison in West Virginia as ordered by the U.S. Bureau of Prisons to begin a 4-year sentence. And they go into the actual interview that she did with Carlos King in this. I'll place the link for this article in the description down below so you guys can read it for yourself. But they say she was interviewed by, well, I don't know why they call him YouTuber Carlos King, but I mean, I guess if you're on YouTube, I guess that would consider you a YouTuber. Well, okay. About her case and sentencing. And in it, they say this verbatim. She says she felt like she had been treated unfairly because of her celebrity status, which we had talked about this when we recapped the interview. She spoke about a gambling addiction, which we also talked about. And she basically said that the gambling, she kind of alluded to the gambling addiction being partially to blame for these financial issues that she's having, right? So when Carlos asked if Lorenzo knew about the crimes, she said, and as they quote here, she says, yeah, she said in the interview, somewhat. It might have been some instances where he didn't know anything about it, but like most of the time, I would say yes. So I remember distinctly asking, is that wise of her to say? Now, whether or not they had already been exploring his past or whatnot, it would stand to reason that they probably had been because he was connected to her. But I also remember talking about how later he had basically denied what she was saying and said that he wasn't aware of any criminal activity. And they apparently tried to reach out to him for comment on yesterday, but I ain't getting no responses. So yeah, like I said, I will place the article in the description of this video so you guys can read it for yourself. But dang, man, like this is crazy. And so now when I think about it, y'all remember how British was really adamant? I don't know if you had read, up on the case or whatever about, it sounded like like, the daughter was going to be staying with the mom, right? And I kept wondering and asking myself, like, well, why wouldn't the daughter be staying with him? It seems like if he didn't know nothing about it, he was in the clear, he was free and clear and all this good stuff like that. Why wouldn't he be staying with him? Why wouldn't the daughter be staying with him? But I think now we have our answer potentially. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. This is crazy. This is really, really crazy. But somehow I'm not really all that surprised. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will catch you, of course, in the next video. Make sure you guys send them send them some prayers, because that's a whole family that's gotta deal with the aftermath of these actions. Baby, it don't pay to do this type of stuff. It really don't.